So, good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for joining our session today on overview of SharePoint Server 2019 public preview. So, myself, I'm Vignesh Ganeshan. I'm a Microsoft certified technical manager. So I work on SharePoint and Office 365. And today my co-speaker would be Jayanthi. So she's a Microsoft certified SharePoint developer. And that's sort of a disclaimer which you need to pay attention to, because all the features and all the contents which I'm going to show you or which I'm going to talk about in today's session is on public preview. Okay, so until the product goes live, until the product is available for GA, there is no guarantee that this exact feature will be available on the GA. So please be mindful about that. And let me give you the guideline at the beginning of the session itself. As of today, your SharePoint Server 2019 is only meant to be installed on a lab or in a development environment. Do not ever try to install that on a production environment, because this is not meant for that, as it is still on public preview. Until and unless the product is for GA, you're not allowed to do that. I mean, when I say you're not allowed to do that, if something breaks, you can't go back to Microsoft and say that, hey, this happened, and they can't support you on that. Okay, with all things said, let me move ahead. Okay, so that's a quote which has been given by Bill Gates. So software innovation, like almost every other kind of innovation, requires the ability to collaborate and share ideas with other people, and to sit down and talk with customers and get their feedback and understand their needs. So that is some sort of an interesting quote which is coming from one of the greatest leaders in today's tech world. So with that, let's get started. So who's this guy? So I'm a technical manager for SharePoint and Office 365 services. I'm a blogger, so I blog on Vignesh SharePoint Thoughts, which is my own blog site, and then on European SharePoint community site, Collab 365, C# Corner, and Hubfly blog site. So those are the other blogs for which I write articles too. I've spoken on plethora of webinars and couple of conferences, local user groups, etc. And I'm the chapter lead for C# Corner Bangalore chapter, and I'm also an ambassador for AOS community. I'm a C# Corner MVP, and I've completed more than 10 plus Microsoft certifications. If at all you want to follow me or give me a buzz or ping me on social media, so that's my details down there. Okay, and you also have my email, just in case you want to write something to me. Please feel free to go ahead and do that. Okay, and today my co-speaker is going to be Jayanthi. So Jayanthi, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
All right. So hello everyone. A delightful evening to all. It's indeed a great evening session, and thank you for joining us today. And this is Jayanthi, who is Shisha Corner MVP, Microsoft Certified Technology Specialist, author and speaker. I'm agilely working on SharePoint and Office 65. In addition to that, I also do work on Dynamics CRM and Power BI. I'm based out of Coimbatore. That's all about me. So let's see in a demo part. Thank you.
Thank you, Jayanthi. So folks, Jayanthi would be leading our demo session today. So we have prepared an environment on Azure to show you a demo of how exactly SharePoint Server 2019 looks on the ground. Okay, so let's move ahead. So our targeted audiences for my session today are SharePoint administrators. So how many of you folks are SharePoint administrators here today? If you can just put that on the chat, it'll help me understand my audiences very well. Okay. So is it only one, or am I missing people here? Okay, I see a couple of people there. Thank you, my people. And how many of you are SharePoint developers here? How many of you play the role of a SharePoint developer? A good amount of people. And how about architects? So people who are playing the role of an architect in your organization. Do we have anyone who's an architect in their company? Okay. And also for business decision makers, right? If you're an architect, so basically you're also making business decisions in your organization, right? What is more interesting for me is we are living on the world of Office 365 today, and it really feels so good for for folks like you, just showing up for a SharePoint on-premises event. Thank you so much for having that passion. Okay. So this is my agenda for this evening. So we'll begin with talking about the architectural changes in SharePoint Server 2019, right? Unlike your SharePoint Server 2016, we do not have a major change here. I mean, of course, we have a few here and there, but then it is not like what you saw on SharePoint 2016. Okay, so we are going to touch base and see like what are the new architectural changes on SharePoint Server 2019. Then we'll talk about the software and hardware requirements for SharePoint Server 2019. We'll be discussing about what's new and what's deprecated in SharePoint Server 2019. And then, as I said, Jayanthi is going to show you a demo on SharePoint Server 2019, right? So how the central administration looks, all the new features, all the new site features, and all the new templates that have showed up, everything. And then we are going to talk about the migration approach to SharePoint 2019, just in case if you're planning for SharePoint Server 2019, so how the migration approach should be. And then we will do a recap and conclusion. And also, folks, if you don't mind, so how many of you folks are supporting a SharePoint Server 2016 on-premises environment in your current role? Can I get that on the chat? So how many of you are dealing with SharePoint Server 2016? Just a few. Okay. And 2013 if anyone, and if 2010 if you guys really exist. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so overview. Your SharePoint Server 2019 is built on the foundational release of SharePoint 2016, right? Because as I said, we didn't see a huge change like as we saw on SharePoint 2016. When SharePoint 2016 was introduced, there was a lot of changes there, right? Right from the architecture, right from the features, there was a major shift. But that is not the case in SharePoint Server 2019, and it is basically built on the foundational release of SharePoint 2016, right? It brings customers closer to the cloud and the cloud closer to our customers. The reason for me to say this is because right from the beginning of SharePoint 2013 itself, we started to have some sort of cloud integration. So hybrid was introduced from SharePoint Server 2013. If at all you folks remember, the first hybrid feature which we had was SharePoint Hybrid Search. I believe on SharePoint Server 2013, August 2015 CU is when Microsoft said that, okay, if you have this CU, you're good to go and you can go do a hybrid search, right? So with that, Microsoft, even for on-premises customers, you can take advantage of the cloud capabilities. It is similar to SharePoint Server 2016. Most of the features were cherry-picked from Office 365 and implemented here. If at all you think about SharePoint 2016, when it was introduced, right, you had most of the features from the cloud, right? They were cherry-picked. Whatever features were really making a huge noise on the cloud, right? So Microsoft tried to give that features to us on SharePoint 2016, and the same applies here as well. It is based on SharePoint Online Learnings, and it mostly mimics SharePoint 2016 features. So if at all you're thinking, okay, I'm going to see some cool and crazy stuff on SharePoint 2019, the idea is it almost, if you're having SharePoint 2016, you almost have everything which is there on SharePoint 2019, okay? Okay, so SharePoint Server 2019 will deliver enhancements and new capabilities in these three major areas. So the focus areas are modern, familiar, and intuitive user experiences based on our investments in SharePoint Online, right? So what Microsoft is trying to say from this is, whatever investment Microsoft was making on SharePoint Online, right? So Microsoft has managed to bring in all those rich capabilities to SharePoint Server 2019 also, okay? And the next thing is new ways to engage with content across browsers and devices, right? Because right from SharePoint 2016 onwards, your SharePoint site, when you display it on a mobile screen, right, the way it renders on a mobile screen, it is exactly the same like how it renders on a PC browser, right? So that's the kind of view that you get, and there is no difference. It is so seamless. Robust scale security and compliance capabilities to meet growing demands. Of course, today we are speaking about GDPR. Today we are speaking about a lot of security and compliance standards. We have HIPAA, we have FISMA, we have a lot out there in the industry. And it is just not Office 365. Even your SharePoint Server 2016 or 2019 has all those capabilities to support these growing compliance requirements. So converged code base. So before I even talk about it, does anybody have an idea about what is converged code base? Maybe you can put that on the chat. Let's understand if this was something which I already spoke about when I was delivering SharePoint 2016 webinar. If any of my session, if any of you people who have joined my session back then, you would have understood about this, but it's not a big deal. Let me explain. See, what happens with Microsoft is when they were delivering Office 365, right? Let's think about SharePoint Online in Office 365. Today you go to Office, right? You see SharePoint Online. Maybe a week from now you go to Office, you see some new feature there, and you would be even wondering like, how did this feature even show up? There was no downtime, there was nothing, but still Microsoft managed to push this feature on the backend, and today I'm able to use it, right? Maybe you could also say that, okay, for first release customers, I'll have this feature, and then later I'll make it generally available to everyone. But Microsoft still managed to push it to your environment without any downtime or without any disruption to the existing environment. That is the kind of learning which Microsoft took from SharePoint 2016 onwards. Because what happened is, if you think about SharePoint 2013, if there was a feature in Office 365, the same feature for you to show up in SharePoint 2013, it'll at least take 3 to 4 years. They have to develop that, they have to test it internally within Microsoft, and they have to do all those cool things, and only then, yes, please go ahead and turn off that video. Okay, so they have to go ahead and test that product, right? They have to go ahead and test whether that feature is working well within internally within Microsoft, right? And then what they have to do is they have to test it within their internal employees. So there is a lot they have to do before they are pushing out any new feature to a SharePoint on-premises server product. But that was not the case from SharePoint Server 2016 onwards, because the source code for SharePoint 2016 is exactly the same source code as your Office 365 SharePoint Online. And that is when they were smart enough to push all those new features and updates as soon as possible. If you think about SharePoint 2016, right, any feature which showed up in Office 365 within 6 months or 1 year, it will show up in SharePoint 2016. Now in the case of your SharePoint Server 2019, we have these modern team sites or communication sites. Maybe Microsoft introduced that maybe 6 or 10 months before, and now we are having that in your SharePoint Server 2019, because the source code for that, your SharePoint on-premises as well as your Office 365 is same, and it is very simple, easy for them to push those things in either in the form of a future pack or maybe in the form of a patch, right? So that is called as converged code base. Converged means running in parallel. That's what it basically means. So if at all you've been asked about how Microsoft manages to do all these things, so this is the reason behind it. There is a beautiful article on this. I'd urge you people, please go ahead and try to read it. And there is a deep dive session by this from Bill Bear. So he has given a very good insight on how Microsoft managed to develop SharePoint Server 2016 and 2019 and what is going into the binaries of it. So please go ahead and read it. And he has given a detailed demo on converged code base. So now let's talk about the architecture changes, right? So these are the hardware requirements for your SharePoint Server 2019 with the MinRole, right? So similar to any other on-premises product. So whenever a new on-premises product is being introduced by Microsoft, of course, the supporting environment such as your operating system, be it the SQL, right? Everything they'll say like, okay, you want this, you have to go with this. That is one way for them to sell their new product. Of course, that is there. And also there are various reasons behind this, right? Because when you're giving a new platform or when you're giving a new application, the underlying operating system also should be kept in such a way that it is smart enough to deal with it. So with that, these are the hardware requirements. So this is what, maybe if you're planning for a single server, right, you can go with 16 GB of RAM and single server with SQL. And this is already available in Microsoft's website. I'm just displaying this for you. Later, when you have the slides, you can go ahead and look it for yourself. And there is a note there. So please be mindful of your data center locations while building the farm, because similar to your SharePoint 2013, right, you can also have a stretched farm. I think the stretched farm concept was available right from SharePoint 2010 itself. And if any of you folks do not understand the concept of a stretched farm, what it means is, if you think about any SharePoint architecture, right, you'll either have a primary or a secondary, wherein your primary is the production, right? Maybe your data center is in the US. That is your primary data center. You install SharePoint there, and your secondary is somewhere in Europe. And for any given reason, if the primary goes down, the secondary will come up. That is one kind of an architecture. How about having one web front-end server in US and one web front-end server in Europe? Same way, one app server in US and one app server in Europe. It is called as a stretched farm, wherein you are stretching the servers within the farm between two different geographical locations, so that in the event of any natural calamity or any disaster, you still have 3 to 4 servers or the minimal resources to keep the farm up and running. So that is called as a stretched farm. Not a lot of customers are using this, but of course there are very few customers who are still going ahead with the stretched farm concept. So if any of your customers are interested, you can go ahead and suggest the stretched farm concept to them. And your SharePoint 2019 supports that as well. Software requirements. So these are the software requirements, right? So we have Windows Server 2016 as well as Windows Server 2019, which would be the underlying operating system if at all you want to install SharePoint Server 2019. When it comes to database, the backend SQL, it should either be SQL Server 2016 or SQL Server 2017. And of course, it has different versions. So right from SharePoint 2016 onwards, we do not have the foundation version. I believe most of you folks would be aware of that. So In this case, we have SharePoint 2019 Standard, SharePoint 2019 Enterprise, and SharePoint 2019 Enterprise plus Project Server. So folks who are dealing with SharePoint Server 2016, I believe you're aware that with the same binaries of your SharePoint 2016, you also get Project Server. You just need to have the licensing key for that, provided that you have purchased the license for that. It is just a single PowerShell command which you need to run, and boom, you will have Project Server along with SharePoint Server from SharePoint 2016 onwards, and the same applies here as well. There is nothing different there. Okay, so if you're interested, you can go ahead and take this version. If at all your company is using SharePoint 2016 Project and Enterprise, you have that on 2019 also. So these are the prerequisites. So we have, since I think these are the prerequisites which get installed, right? Whenever you're doing a SharePoint installation, and the same applies here. A few of them have been removed because we are moving to a newer version of operating system and a newer SQL, right? So this is same stuff which you have been doing for years, right? Whenever you're installing a SharePoint, you would be installing the prerequisites as well, and the same thing applies here. So Office Online, there is nothing different here as well, because in 2013 we said Office Web App Server. In 2016 Microsoft said, okay, we are introducing a new product called as Office Online Server, but in SharePoint Server 2019 there is nothing as such. We are still using Office Online only. So if at all you want to take advantage of all those Excel web app and your PowerPoint web app and all those cool functionalities, you're going to install Office Online Server, and there is no new product for that yet. So you have the durable links, Excel services, and things of all that sort, right? And you have the native PDF viewer without OS. So supporting operating systems for your Office Online Server, I've given that. So the 64-bit edition of Windows Server 2012 R2 or the 64-bit edition of Windows Server 2016. Office Online Server April 2013 or later is required. So please make sure that you're sticking to that exact version, or else it's not going to be supported. The workflow manager, once again, no major change here as well. It is same as it is. If at all you folks remember, there was no new workflow manager which was introduced on SharePoint 2016 also. The last we had was in SharePoint 2013. Microsoft said, yes, we have the SharePoint workflow manager. And after that, there was no new release at all. And the same applies for SharePoint 2019 also. There is no new version of workflow manager also. So please be aware that whatever workflows you have developed using your SharePoint 2013 on-premises environment will still be supported. And there are reasons for this. Maybe later, once we are going ahead with this session, you'll understand, okay, maybe this is why Microsoft is not introducing a new version of all these things. Okay, and we'll be explaining that later in this session. So by default, as a product, your SharePoint Server 2019 has all the features which comes with your SharePoint Server 2016 Future Pack 1. Let's say if at all you're interested, okay, what are all the features which I will get on SharePoint 2019 by default as a product? If at all you have FP1 on 2016, whatever features it has, you'll have it here. So let me try to just take you back. If at all you remember when SharePoint 2016 was installed, when it was introduced, when it was introduced by Microsoft, Microsoft said that we have this concept called as min role, which means for web front end you have to have one server, for app you have to have one server, for search you have to have one server, for distributed cache you have to have one server. We are talking about 4 servers. Even for a test environment you should have 4 servers. And later customers were not happy about it, and Microsoft said, okay, with Future Pack 1 you can club 2 roles together. If at all you folks remember, that is how it was introduced as, right? So in this case, these roles are clubbed. So in one server, you could have your web front end and your distributed cache. And in the second server, you could have your search and the app. Okay. So this is how the min role looks like on the surface. And then min role with high availability. Okay. So adding the roles together, you have your front end with distributed cache and application with search, and that is with your high availability. Okay, now let's speak about some boundaries and limits, right? So of course, Microsoft has given us some good news here, and I'm very thankful to that. The maximum file path length limit has been introduced from 260 characters to 400 characters. Wow, that's really amazing, because I believe from us as customers, from we as customers, this has been a very big ask to Microsoft for many years, right? And Microsoft has managed to bring this alive now. So yes, you could have the length can be up to 400 characters now. Additional special characters such as, so the way this works is any special character which is supported by your Windows operating system will be supported by your SharePoint. So please keep that in mind, right? If it is supported by your Windows, yes, it can be supported by your SharePoint also. And the maximum file size can go up to 15 gigabytes. In SharePoint 2016, we said 10 gigabytes, and here it is 15 gigabytes. So a single file can be up to 15 gigabytes of size. And when I'm saying this, please be mindful that it depends upon how your environment is. If it is not scaled properly, of course, you're going to have performance issues. So this is whatever numbers you're seeing here, please bear in at least the last point. When I say 15 GB of size, please make sure that your environment is scaled properly to support it. So what's new and what's been updated in SharePoint 2019 preview? Of course, we have a lot, so let's look at it by each. So we have the SharePoint communication side. So that's the dream come true, right? Because most of us have this love about the communication sites and the modern team sites. The first time when we saw it, we were like, oh my God, that's really cool, right? How did even Microsoft manage to develop such a cool template? And if we ask developers, okay, how much time you're going to take it, and probably you're going to be sitting for weeks and weeks to develop such kind of a site. And now we have that as a template. So it is just not Office 365 people who are going to enjoy it hereafter. Even on-premises customers can go ahead and take advantage of that. So we have communication sites, and the site creation is really fast now. That is a new functionality from 2016 onwards, which Microsoft has introduced. Then we have increased storage file size in SharePoint document libraries, which is something which I just spoke about. And then we have the modern lists and libraries. So we also have the modern team site here, which means the list and library views, everything is going to remain modern sharing experience. So whatever you see on a modern team site in your Office 365, the same would be applicable here. And if at all you have this doubt on back of your mind, okay, Vignesh, when I'm creating a modern team site in Office 365, it would create an Office 365 group on the backend. Is that the case in on-premises? The answer is no, because your Office 365 group is an Azure AD membership product, right? Because when you're creating an Office 365 group, it creates various things on the backend. It creates a SharePoint team site, it creates a shared calendar, it creates a DL, it creates a planner. There is a lot which gets created, and that is done on the cloud. So you cannot have that same mindset here and thinking that, okay, if I create this, I'll be getting all this. No, that's not the concept here. You would be just getting a modern site. That's it. Modern site pages, modern web parts and authoring, modern search experience. You have the contextual type ahead search, and I think Jayanthi would be showing a demo of that. Let's say if you're searching for someone, the moment you type, as you type, you'll be seeing the search results being displayed. That is available in your Office 365, and now we have that in your SharePoint on-premises site also. I spoke about modern team sites already. PDF viewer, we have that. And then SharePoint is using, so this is something which I want to talk about, right? Until your SharePoint 2016, the IIS in your SharePoint, which was being used there, it was making use of the IIS 6 APIs. Now from SharePoint Server 2019 onwards, it is going to make use of the IIS 7 APIs. Now the reason why Microsoft is introducing this is, now if you have any other application which wants to make use of the IIS 7 APIs and it wants to integrate with SharePoint, it is possible now. So that's the reason. And then you have your SharePoint homepage. Once again, this is really good because SharePoint homepage was something which we managed to have only in Office 365. Now we have that in your on-premises also, which means when you're following a site, whatever changes has been done to that site, you can get it from a single view itself. You go to your homepage in your Office 365, you will be seeing everything, because most of the time it has been an ask from your end users, I believe. So I'm a part of so many sites. Sometimes I don't even remember which site I'm a member or which site I even belong to. And that's when we say, okay, maybe you follow a site, you go to your SharePoint homepage, you'll be able to see everything. Now that is available in your SharePoint on-premises also. We have a homepage there. From the SharePoint homepage, you can create sites in different web applications. If at all you folks remember, in Office 365, we have this button in your SharePoint home, it says create site. You can create a site you can create a communication site or a modern team site. Now the same is applicable here as well. And yes, we can choose on which web application it has to create. On the demo, we'll be showing you how that is done. Self-service site creation. This is similar to what the previous point which I was talking about. On the demo, we are going to show it to you. So SMTP authentication when sending emails. Till SharePoint 2016, this concept was not there, and most of the people who took a look at this feature were having this confusion, right? When you think about your SharePoint Server 2016 or 2013, right? You go to the mail settings. There you'll see outgoing email settings and incoming email settings. You're going to give the SMTP address there, and it is, yes, you're going to get all the emails and things of all that sort. But then here what happens is you also have this authentication piece, which means when you're sending emails from your SharePoint server to a different environment, you can make sure that it is done only when the server is authenticated to send emails. Even that is possible now because this has been a security concern, and many customers have reported this to Microsoft, and now they're even bringing this functionality here. In the central administration, you can see this setting, and we'll be showing that to you in the demo as well. So sync files. So now we are living in Windows 10, right? In Windows 10, we said OneDrive on demand. We had the grooved. We said that okay, the groove.exe is going away, and now we have uh, the modern sync, right? So now that is also possible with your SharePoint on-premises also, right? We have the OneDrive on demand functionality now with your Windows 10 operating system, and the groove.exe is going to go away. We have the modern one. Use of hash, this is something which I already spoke about. And then we have the new PowerShell commandlets. We have new PowerShell commandlets which has been introduced on SharePoint Server 2019, and I have a slide on that. I'll be talking about what are those new PowerShell commandlets and when you can use it, and everything will be explained there. So new SharePoint health analyzer rules. So we have two rules which has been introduced to go ahead and check the health of your SharePoint and report it to you. I'll also be talking about that later on this presentation. Distributed cache here. So these are certain improvements. Hereafter it will be improvements. We have made some changes. Microsoft has managed to do some changes and some improvements to the distributed cache functionality. And then file path limit of 400 characters. This is something which we already spoke about. And then hybrid experience improvements. So with hybrid, it is almost exactly the same as what you see on SharePoint 2016. There is nothing new which Microsoft has introduced on SharePoint Server 2019. They have just made some enhancements to the existing features, but there is nothing new as such. So recycle bin restore improvement. So this is really key. What happens is until SharePoint 2016, if you want to restore a deleted document, you should be an owner of that document, right? But from SharePoint 2019 onwards, even if you have edit permissions on that document, you can go ahead and restore a document which has been deleted and it will be restored. Now that's a new thing, and that is really awesome because that was not possible till the previous version of SharePoint on premises, and now Microsoft has made it live. So sharing email template, we have some new improvements there as well. So suite navigation and app launcher improvements. This is what you saw in SharePoint hybrid experience. You have this hybrid app launcher, right? This is the same thing which you're seeing here. A telemetry privacy experience. This is when you're configuring the farm for the first time. Microsoft, you have a place wherein you can go ahead and give the email address so that you can give telemetry data to Microsoft. So there has been some, and not most of the customers use this, but then if you're interested, yes, you can go ahead and do it. This is for Microsoft to collect telemetry data from your environment. So Visual Services accessibility, and then Access Service 2013 now supports send email. That was not the case before, now we have it. And then supports new, and also this is really key. Now the mobile app, the SharePoint mobile app which you're using on your mobile, it is same for both your SharePoint on premises as well as for your SharePoint online. We do not get to see two different mobile apps because the view or the way it renders is exactly the same. Be it Office 365 site or be it an on-premises site, there is not going to be any difference. The way it renders is exactly the same, and the same mobile app can be used for both. An additional documentation link from central administration site. In central administration, you will be seeing some links, right? If at all you want to configure this, click here, and it will take you to the concerned Microsoft blog site or the docs.microsoft.com. Now we have certain additional links for that also. Now, what is deprecated and removed from SP 2019? Not much, but then Access Services 2010, yes, this was announced as deprecated or removed on SharePoint 2016 itself, and the same applies here. Access Services 2013, this has been not removed, it has been deprecated, right? It is still there, but then if something breaks, then the support for this is very limited. So Microsoft says that this feature has been deprecated. And when I'm saying deprecated or removed, guys, please make sure that you advise your customers that this functionality will be removed in course of time. And if you have any dependency on these features, please make sure that you're getting rid of it or you're moving it, because it doesn't make sense to stay here anymore, because if it breaks, the support for this is going to be very limited from Microsoft support. Aggregated newsfeed, this is gone, and then the custom help is gone. Even though this functionality was not being used by many customers, this has been removed now. The Groove Sync client is gone. InfoPath services, when I say it is deprecated because Microsoft has given us Power Apps and Flow in SharePoint Server 2019. And we already discussed about this while we were discussing about Office 365. When you're using Power Apps and your Flow, there is a big question in people's mind. Like when in the case of SharePoint, when do I use Power Apps or when do I use Microsoft Flow? At least from a SharePoint perspective, if you're creating a SharePoint designer workflow hereafter, you are going to use Microsoft Flow. If you're going to create an InfoPath form hereafter, you're going to do that on Power Apps. So that's the line there. So keep that in your mind. So to your customers, if they are planning for SharePoint Server 2019, please tell them that do not take advantage of InfoPath services. Ask them to use Power Apps. List web services is gone. Machine translation and variations. This was also one service application which was not being used heavily, and Microsoft has removed this now. Performance point services is gone. SharePoint designer. So this is once again, this has been deprecated. This is still there, but now, as I said, now we are living in the world of Power Apps and all those crazy other new things. So there is no, Microsoft feels that they don't need to support this product anymore. Site mailbox, they have introduced this in SharePoint 2013, and if you think about the configuration for this single feature, it is like hundreds and hundreds and lines of document. And I think from 2013 onwards itself, this feature was not a big hit, and yes, Microsoft has deprecated this now. Site manager is gone. Your code base sandbox solution is gone. Digest authentication is gone because we are talking about NTLM, Kerberos, Windows, and all that stuff, and no one is really using digest authentication. And yes, this has been announced as deprecated. And finally, incoming email automatic mode has been announced as deprecated. Multi-tenancy, because most of the time we keep confusing ourselves with multi-tenancy. See, multi-tenancy is a feature or a functionality which is mainly for service providers, for people such as Microsoft who are running a product such as called as Office 365, where multiple customers and data is going to live only for them. So multi-tenancy, I mean, even if it was introduced on SharePoint, not many customers were using it, and now Microsoft has announced that they're deprecating this. PowerPoint gallery, Power Pivot gallery and refresh is gone, and your Visual Services Silverlight based rendering is gone. That's it. So these are all the features which has been announced as deprecated, either deprecated or removed from Microsoft. But my advice or my suggestion is, please ask your customers to move away from this, because the support for this, as I already said, is going to be very limited. And when it comes to hybrid, that's a wonderful quote which I've kept there, which was given by Bill Bear in one of his webinars or meetings. So what he says is, hybrid is just not meant to bring your business to the cloud, but to bring cloud to your business. So the idea behind this is really huge, right? Today we still have some customers, or we still have some firms who do not want to move to the cloud because of legal and security reasons, right? But they still go ahead and build a hybrid environment. It's just not, but they wouldn't move their data there. But then they want to take advantage of certain features from the cloud. For instance, they want to have this thing called as, let's say I want to take advantage of Flow, or let's say I want to take advantage of Power Apps, or let's say I want to take advantage of a specific feature in Office 365, but I do not want to move my content there. But let me, my users can still take advantage of that. In that case, they'll be running hybrid, or they'll say that my core content will live on premises. Maybe some content can be moved to Office 365. So they'd be running hybrid in that case. Or else if they're planning a migration and their environment is so big that it is going to take years for them to move to the cloud, in that case, they'll be running hybrid. So the reason for hybrid is really huge, and there are various reasons why any company would do hybrid, either for migration or either to take advantage of the cloud features or functionalities, or it could be like some other reasons also. But then as it's given here, so hybrid is just not meant to bring your business to the cloud, but to bring cloud to your business so that you can take advantage of those features. So when it comes to hybrid, we have the hybrid sites. This was there on SharePoint 2016 itself. Then we have the hybrid follow, same as 2016, hybrid profiles. Then we have the hybrid OneDrive for business. It is like, let's say your user is trying to access his My Site in SharePoint on premises. It will redirect him to his OneDrive for business in the cloud, because it's not possible for any company to give 1 TB of storage for a single user, right? But with this functionality, yes, you will be redirected to your OneDrive for business on the cloud, so that that user can take advantage of the 1 TB of storage which is given to him. Cloud hybrid search. and then we have the hybrid taxonomy and content types, and then finally we have the extensible hybrid op launcher. So all these features which you're seeing there was there on 2016 also, and the same applies for SharePoint Server 2019. And let me also remind you folks, we are talking about the public preview here. Maybe once the GA is available, we could see some improvement, but at the moment, this is what you get. So yeah, we have been done a lot of talking here and there, right? So I spent a good amount of time showing you some slides. Now it is time to really go ahead and witness all these features and see how it looks on the surface. So with that, I'm going to give it to Jayanthi. So Jayanthi, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, let me just go ahead and make you as the presenter. All right, there you go.
All right. Thank you, Vignesh. So let's have a basic check. Could you guys quickly comment on chat that you can hear me well and see my screen?
Yes, we can do both.
Okay, fine.
Yep.
So as Vignesh explained, hope you all have a good understanding on SharePoint Server 2019 architecture model and its hardware and software requirements, prerequisites and main role concept and what's deprecated. And I believe all of you are eager to see visually and what's new in SharePoint Server 2019. So well, without further delay, let's take into the demo and see the features. So as you see in the screen, we are in a SharePoint Server 2019 central administration site. So I have configured single server form, and there is no changes on the UI level, but you could see at top some additional links for form administrator to get the latest documentation on SharePoint administration, and you could see some SharePoint server updates. As we scroll down, you could see here is the SharePoint hybrid configuration wizard. So as the name goes, hybrid gives a mix of on-premise and online. So hereafter, creating a hybrid site is no longer a lengthy infrastructure task. This is something is not complicated. You want to read out 300-page documents or a PowerShell script to figure it out. If you want to make a trusted communication between your on-premise and online, just click on the hybrid and you can do the process within the 3 steps. So I just launched the hybrid configuration wizard like this. This is the wizard. You just click on the next, then you can fill out the required fields to set up your SharePoint hybrid search and the taxonomy and one day for business. Just this 3-click step process that you can everything you can complete within this configuration wizard. That's it. Coming to service application side, so this is all the same as like your SharePoint Server 2016. So only the thing is this access service 2010 is supported, but it's deprecated in SharePoint Server 2019, as well as these performance point services, machine translation services that all will remain supported, but it's deprecated. And coming to project service application, that project server is a enterprise project management solution. So as like your SharePoint Server 2016, we don't want to do separate installation for project server. So the SharePoint Server 2019 and the project server are installed through a single installation process. So that's all. This remaining service applications are same as like your SharePoint Server 2016. And coming to creating the site collections, there's only difference here is, so let me go into the manage application management. So creating a site collections. So only the difference here is it will ask you whether you want to go for a modern team site or a classic team site. While creating the site collection, you have one more template to create our modern team site. And you can choose the web applications you want to create a site collection under which web application, choose it, and you can give the site name and the site URL. These settings are same as like your 2016. Only the changes is here it will add one more team site template that you can create your site collection with the modern team site. And you can set a primary site collection administrator, secondary site collection administrator, and that's it. So that's all from the admin side. There is no other changes on the administration part. And next, let's move into the modern team side. So, this is the most interesting and significant part in SharePoint Server 2019 because Microsoft has brought a lot in UI level changes. Before that, let's have a quick glance on SharePoint Server 2016, and then we can come back to the 2019 so that you can visually see the huge transformation happen in 2019. So now let me go back to my 2016 server. So as I landed into the screen, so as you could see here on the screen, this is a classic team site. Hope you all agree with me. This is a bit complicated. If you want to adjust the web part or move the web part inside the page, this is really complicated to us. And this is not responsive. If you go with the different browsers, if you access the site in different browsers in Chrome or it's something, it's give a compatibility issues. This not responsive and all. And coming back to document libraries, this is a classic document library we used in SharePoint Server 2016. If you want to upload the folder from your local drive to SharePoint document library, this is not at all possible. Either you have to upload the document manually, or you have to drag and drop the documents from your local drive to SharePoint document library. This is the way you can do it. And you have to do multiple clicks. If you want to if you want to edit the metadata of the particular document, you have to do multiple clicks. You have to click on that, you have to go into the edit properties. So you have to do multiple clicks, as well as if you want to do a bulk metadata edit for your all the documents, this is not possible with your SharePoint Server 2016. As well as, unfortunately, if you have created any folder inside the document library, if you want to move into some other document library or some other site, this is not possible here. You have to manually download the document and move it to some other site, or otherwise you have to use a third-party tool to move your document to some other site. So these are the pain points we experienced in SharePoint Server 2019. So, and come back to SharePoint List. So this is the classic UI experience we used in 2016. If you want to customize something in that part, we as a developer, we want to do some JS link, or we want to do some, yeah, we want to do some REST API, or we want to do separate a page to customize the SharePoint List. This is something complicated. We need to spend some amount of time to customize this thing. And also, if you want to do some column level formatting, this is all not possible with SharePoint Server 2016. And now let's go. This is all the pain points we experienced in SharePoint Server 2016. Now let's go back to the SharePoint Server 2019 and see what the huge transformation happened here. So as you see in the screen, I'm in a modern team site. As you notice here, this is my modern team site. I just provisioned this site as a modern root site. This is my root site. Whenever the people log in with SharePoint Server 2019, this will act as the root site. And here, I didn't write any code to develop this such big site. This modern, this site is responsive. You could see here the banner. This is something is out of box. I just added some web parts using that. If you click on that edit option, you can add multiple web parts over here. So the best part here is whenever you work with SharePoint Server 2019, it will give you the experience that you are working in SharePoint Online. So here you can add the text, image, file viewer. As like with SharePoint Online, you can add these web parts. There is some limitations on the web part level. You can't use the Office 365 connectors with don't confuse with SharePoint Online web parts and SharePoint on-premise web part. These are the limited web parts. You can add it in your modern team site SharePoint Server 2019. So only the difference is you can't add this connectors web part. So you could see in the screen, I just logged in with my SharePoint Online. So the remaining web parts are same: feature, text, media, content, discovery, communication, and collaboration. These web parts are same. And the only thing is you can't find this connectors web part because we are working in the SharePoint Server 2019. So this is something SharePoint Online. It will connect with the other online services. This Facebook, GitHub, this thing. This thing we can't do with SharePoint Server 2019. Remaining things are same. You can add news, calendars, and everything. So this is SharePoint Server 2019. So I just started here. Yeah. So before that, I just added modern news page. Whenever you create a news, it will take you to the different page. You can see the detailed news details over there, and site activity details. You can add it, and below that, you can do some highlighted content. You can add the people profiles, and you can have that image gallery. And each and every page we have the comment section, so people can comment with their own comments, so how the pages looks like and all. So this is something is out of box. I have not written any code over here, and you just notice here this is not a group connected site, and as of now we can't connect with the hub site. The hub site is not supported over here. and you can create and publish modern pages quickly and easily, and they look great on any devices. So if you check the responsive in other browsers, the same look and feel you can get it in other browsers as well. And coming to site usage, you as an a SharePoint owner, you can view information that shows you how users are interacting with your SharePoint 2019 site. For example, you can see the number of people who visited the site and how many times people have visited the site, and list of files that have received the most view. You could see all, you can get all the information over here. Site shared externally, and that was the trending contents, new items. You can get the tips, and you can have the site visit, everything. And other interesting part over here is the recycle bin. If you want to recover some content that is deleted by other users, that something is very simple over here. So let me go to the site contents. Let's say you have created some contents, but unfortunately that's deleted by some other person. You as a user, you just go and recover it from your recycle bin. But you should at least have an edit permission on the deleted items so that you can recover it back. So users who created the document, who is having the edit permission for the particular document, if it is by mistake or if unfortunately deleted by some other users, then you just directly go ahead and recover it from your recycle bin. This is something, it's not like that every time you have to approach your admin to recover the part. So you as an user who's having the edit permission, you just go and recover it from your recycle bin. And other interesting part here is in 2019 is the modern communication side. So SharePoint has always been at the core of collaboration. So let me take you into the modern communication side. So as you see in the screen, I just customized the site with the farmhouse theme. This is first thing you could see here as the hero web part. So while you mouse over the screen, mouse over the images, you could see some parallax effect. And below that, you have that news with the modern news web part. And below that, you can have a events web part and quick clicks. You can have it. And you can add some documents, recent documents that is added in your SharePoint document library. And you can have that image gallery, and you can easily, if your site is configured with the hybrid, you can embed your Microsoft Stream, and you can get some videos from there. And below that, I have added that quick chart. So the things you are seeing the screen, everything is out of box. I just drag in the web parts inside the page. I didn't write any code over there. I didn't write any JavaScript, or I didn't embed any code over there. And you could see there's a rich text formatting. Hope you agree with me. This is something like, if you want to highlight the content in a SharePoint 2016, or you put in the table, this is totally the irritation process. You want to that we need to concentrate more on the alignment part, but here is nothing like that. You can simply highlight the content if you want to make it bold or italic, or you want to make the font color is different. So it's giving the experience as like you work with your Microsoft Word documents. So everything is simple. Even if you embed some table, or if you embed some code over here, you embed some contents from other wiki pages, this is really simple. It's give a good alignment for you. And below that, I have added some site activity reports, and obviously we can have a comment section even in your modern team site pages or communication site pages. Each and every pages we can have this comment section. So, and again, so editing this page is quite simple with modern team site and communication site. You can add web parts. You just simply drag and drop web parts easily with your modern team experience. So as you could see, the same web parts you could have in that modern communication site as well. The future web part, text media, discovery, communication and collaboration, and business intelligence. So as I said, the only thing is missing here is the Office spec connectors that we can get only in a SharePoint Online and not with SharePoint Server 2019. And if you want to publish the news, so each and every page we have the news, modern news. Once you click on that, it will directly take you into the news. So you can have the detailed information. And if you want to promote the page, that you can also do it, so that others that will help you to others to find your page. And you can add the news to your navigation. You can post this as a news and email it everybody, or paste it with Microsoft Team Chat. So this modern experience will give the tile experience whenever you copy the page and paste it in your team chat, or you paste it in email. It gives you the tile box with the short description about the page, what this page is going to tell you. This short description you can get in all the pages. So now let's talk about the modern list and libraries. So this modern list is a lightest structure to structure your content. So let me take you to the modern list. This is the SharePoint list and just having some items. So one of the cool feature here is that you can adjust the column. So you can drag, you just adjust the column. If you want to make this column as too short, that you can short it. And if you want to expand the column, you can expand it. And additionally, you can do some additional column level formatting. This column level formatting, something we can't do with SharePoint Server 2016, that we need to write some code over there. So here's this something simple, this column formatting allow you to easily format the data displayed on list column. It does not require much technical knowledge, other than JSON and the principles of HTML tags and CSS formatting. So this feature can be used by anyone with permissions, to manage views in a list, and allows a predefined set of HTML elements and attributes. So that which is enough to highlight the important information from your list. You just click on the column and the column settings and format this column. You can put your JSON code over here and click save. This is something simple. You can format your particular column with this. You can do pie chart. You can make the status column in a different color, and you can also while click on the email box, that will directly take you to the email. And you can send to manager. You can write some flow over here, and you can do some number kind of things formattings. That all you can do with SharePoint list. And coming back to SharePoint document library, so as you see here is the updated thing. Just getting to documents. Yes, all right. So as you could see here is the updated experience in a document library. As you notice that browse page, the total ribbon is gone. You could see some trim menu over here. And if you want to pin some document as a top, you can pin it so that other users landed into the page. They can see like this is the important document that we need to aware of that. And if you want to see the particular document information, you can click on that particular image and you can see the details of the document. And if you want to do bulk metadata edit, you just click on it and edit the metadata. And if you want to click the title column into some other thing, you can edit it. I want to make it a sales, and you can do it. And if you want to do bulk metadata edit, that again, I select the multiple documents and click on the details span and just go and easily select the category I want to update it and click save. So now all the categories will be updated. So in 2016, so only at a time we have to update only one document. So for that we need to do multiple clicks. So hope you all agree with me that every time we want to click on the particular document, we need to go to the edit properties and edit the metadata and click save. These are the steps we need to perform it in 2016. But in 2019 compared to 2016, this is simply easy. You can select the document and do it. And if you want to copy the document into some other document library, you can easily do that. If you have any other document library created in the same site, you want to copy this set of files to that you can easily do it. And unfortunately you have uploaded some documents here, but you need to upload into some other document library, then you can select all the documents and move to some other document library. Or you want to move this document into the same document library with some other subfolder, that you can do it. So these are the things are easy with SharePoint Server 2019. And if you want to edit some file name, you want to have some special characters on the document, you can simply click and rename it with the special character. So as Vignesh explained that hash and percentage are supported now, and you can do it. And we can have the file storing files up to, we can store 15 GB of data in our SharePoint document library. So these all the things are possible. And so the most pain point from the customer here is they can't sync the IAM protected document library to their local drive. If you have enabled information rights management, so in 2016 or 2013, that you can't sync with your OneDrive for Business client, right? But here is simple. You can sync your, even if your document library is protected with IRM, but you can sync your all the documents to your local drive. And also it will support the latest OneDrive for Business client. So you can have files on demand concept. You have, if you have the latest Windows 10, then you can use the files on demand. So all your files will be in a cloud. It won't occupy any space on your local drive. So you can sync all the SharePoint modern SharePoint Server 2019 document library to your local drive. And also we can have the URL length of 400 characters. So that's the important thing, and that's it. And now go back to the SharePoint welcome page. And so one more thing here is, so you have a question in your mind. So what about the Power Apps and Microsoft Flow? So compared to SharePoint Online, you could see some that option in this bar, but this is something is missing here. You have that question in your mind. So if you want to use Power Apps and Microsoft Flow in your SharePoint 2019, that you have to download the on-premise gateway. So you have to install that on-premise gateway in your server, and you have to make the connection. Then you can create a workflows using Microsoft Flow, and as well as you can create some mobile applications using Power Apps. So only thing is that icons is not here, but still you can install the gateway and you can create your own flows using a Microsoft Flow, and you can create applications. So now let me take you into the SharePoint homepage. So once you land in the page, I'm sure you will get confused and question yourself whether you are in an online homepage or in a on-premise homepage. So the only difference here is when you are logged in with SharePoint Server 2019, as you see in the toolbar, this name comes like SharePoint and SharePoint. Whereas come to Office 365, the toolbar names will comes like Office 65 and SharePoint. So the only the difference. And here as like your SharePoint online welcome page, you could see the list of sites you are following and the suggested sites you could see. And so that you can see that option create site. The creating a site is a really cakewalk. You can create a site for just matter of 5 seconds. If now you have a question like in SharePoint Server 2019. So when you take the on-premise, if we want to create any sites, we have a web application concept, right? So this access, the people have access to the SharePoint welcome page. Well, people trying to create a team site, it will come under which web application. So you have to think it out, right? So you as an administrator, you can set that configuration in your central administration. So whenever the people trying to create, whenever your users creating to team site or communication site, that should comes under which web application. So let me take into this web application. So I'll go to the manage web application. So you can click on your my site, and you can create a self-service site creation, and here is the configuration. So when users select the create site command, that will comes under which web application. So you can select it either that want to sit under your my site, or you want that want to sit under your other web application. You can select any of the web application as per your requirement, so that user whenever creating the teams or communication site, that will sit under this web application. So once the setting is done, that just click OK. Then all your modern team site and communication site all sit under your one web application. And coming to that part, and yes, that's it. And modern search experience, whenever you configured SharePoint hybrid setup, so you have that extensible app launcher. So this OneDrive, whenever you click on that OneDrive, that will directly take into your Office 65 OneDrive for Business. And additional more settings you can get it like Delve and other newsfeed. When you click on that SharePoint, then that will directly take into the home page. Or if you want to think like that, I just want to redirect this OneDrive to my SharePoint Server 2019 OneDrive site. That will give you the Wonder for Business experience. That totally that my site look and feel is totally changed. That directly give you the Wonder for Business site, that you could see some document library and save. So I just configured hybrid setup. So once I click on that OneDrive, that will directly take me into the Office 65 Wonder for Business. So, and click on the search experience. This is something's really cool. The moment you click on this cursor, it will give you the list of sites you're working with. So you will spend less time searching for information, and you can spend more time working with it. You could find the recent site that you're working in. You can find the files that you are recently accessed. You simply click on that, and you can get the rich search experience. So this all the search experience is effectively configured using that machine learning algorithm. And something, hybrid search experiences cool, actually taking advantage of all the modern elements. And you can do have a standalone search, you can have a hybrid search, everything that possible with SharePoint Server 2019. And once you click on that, so if you whenever you type with the name, or if whenever you're searching with the people, that approximately will give you the exact result with the modern search experience. And finally, being a passionate developer, let me tell you a few things on a development side. So as you all aware that totally sandbox solutions are totally removed, and we are recommended to explore SharePoint add-ins as an alternative, that which are fully supported for both SharePoint on-premise and online. And as like well, SharePoint 2016, the still the client-side reports and client-side extensions are available, and you can do JavaScript injection, you can do SharePoint framework extensions and app extension. So for creating applications, that all you need to do here is, as like 2016, you have to enable that app service application, and you have to create that, you have to enable that subscription setting service application in your central administration site, and that's it. And also you can work with your SharePoint framework concepts as well. The only thing is, when you actually create your SharePoint framework solution, then it will ask you, are you targeting your SharePoint online or 2016? So as of now, we don't have an option to choose SharePoint Server 2019. So that will be in your SharePoint Framework 1.6 or 1.7. That will get that option in our Framework 1.6 or 1.7. So as of now, it's not it, but for 1.6 or 1.7, we can get that options as well. So remaining things, so what are the things you are working with SharePoint Online, that the framework extensions or JavaScript injection or embedding your code in a modern team site and communication, that all possible as like what SharePoint Online concept, that modern experience you can do with, you can write your own code over here, you can develop, you can deploy some solutions using SharePoint framework, report and all. So, and that's it. These all the things. So the major thing here is that modern experience. So really the cool things, that we got the modern team site and communication site in 2019. So there's an interesting part here. And also we have that modern experience in the list and libraries. So these all the experience we newly got in SharePoint Server 2019, and also that modern search. So these all the interesting parts we can get it in SharePoint Server 2019. Yeah, that's it from my side.
All right.
Vignesh, you can go ahead.
Thank you, Jayanthi.
All right.
All right, thank you, folks. And so we have a couple of more slides which I want to show to you. And can you see my screen, or you're not seeing my screen yet?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Well, let me get rid of this minion here. Okay, so yeah, now we just showed you what exactly SharePoint 2019 looks like on the surface. At least we managed to show you the new features, the most exciting piece, right? Now, the migration approach. And now that's the news which you really want to see, right? So if at all you're interested, and if you're on SharePoint 2013, no, you're not going directly there, right? You're going to SharePoint 2016, and only then you're going to SharePoint 2019. When I'm speaking about the migration approach, I'm speaking about the Microsoft supported standard, right? I mean, when I'm speaking about this, I'm speaking about how you would do a database detach, and how do you do the upgrade. Of course, there are third-party tools which can do anything possible. From third-party tools, you can even go from SharePoint 2003 or MOS directly to SharePoint 2019, I guess. You can do everything, but then if you are directly dealing with databases and migrating your content, you have to go from 2013 to 2016, and only from 2016 to 2019, all right? Now, planning the migration to SharePoint Server 2019, as I said, this is, as you already know, from 2013 onwards, we are talking about claims-based authentication, and also the same applies here. Of course, it has classic too, but then mostly supported is claims. Microsoft says you have to go with claims, right? If at all you want to take use of or take advantage of Office Online, and majority of things works well when you're using claims as opposed to your classic, right? So that is what the first diagram speaks about, what you need to do to move from SharePoint 2013 to 2016. The next piece is what you would do to move the databases and everything, and then finally here is when you're going to your SharePoint Server 2019. So if at all you're a customer who's on SharePoint 2013, then there is a long way for you to go. So just make sure that you're planning this accordingly. All right. And also, while I'm talking about this, I also want to touch base a little bit on the architecture piece, if at all you folks are okay with that. So whenever we are talking about hybrid, a common misconception which I'm seeing in the industry today is people think that if at all you're running a SharePoint environment which is splitted across Microsoft Azure IaaS and your on-premises data center. It is called as a hybrid for SharePoint. So please do not even have that kind of understanding. Your SharePoint hybrid is the length between your SharePoint on-premises version and your SharePoint online version, period. That is what is called as a hybrid. When you're running a SharePoint server in such a manner that, let's say you have one web front-end server in your SharePoint on-premises data center, then you have express route configured from Azure data center to your on-premises data center, and you have one web front-end server running on your Azure IaaS. That is not called as a hybrid for SharePoint. That is a hybrid for the underlying architecture, for the underlying infrastructure. That is not a hybrid for SharePoint as an application. So please have that understanding in your mind, and if at all you've been confused with this before, please don't have that confusion anymore. So let's move on. Site creation, I believe Jayanthi was showing you this. From the SharePoint home itself, you can go ahead and create these sites, right? You can create a team communication site as well as a team site, and this is something which we already managed to show you in a demo. And modern team sites, yes, we showed you how it is, and the experience is exactly the same as you see in your Office 365, except for the connectors which you don't get there. Okay, and even on the mobile app, it exactly renders the same way as it is in your PC browser. And also, let me tell you this thing, okay? I believe maybe US developers would have more knowledge on this, but whenever you're designing a SharePoint site, I believe the guidance from Microsoft is you wouldn't be having more than 30 items on the home page. When I'm saying 30 items, it is including all the web parts, all the connectors, whatever you do. Because if it is more than 30, then I believe it's going to take a long amount of time to even load. And for that matter, after the introduction of modern team sites and communication sites, I'm not sure how many of you have got this complaint from your end users, but we as an organization, we managed to see this. People started complaining, saying that when I'm opening my classic site, it renders really quick, but then when I'm opening my modern team site or my communication site, it renders very slow. When that complaint came to us, we instead went ahead and did all the QoS testing from the network end. We did everything, but then that is the way the product works, right? Because with classic site, not a lot of the UI or not a lot of the apps are loading when the home page is rendering, but that's not the case when it comes to your classic site or to your modern site. I'm speaking in the case of Office 365. If that is the case with Office 365, just imagine on a on-premises environment. Of course, it is going to be a bit slow, so please make sure that the network bandwidth calculations, everything is being considered while you're deploying this. And also other kind of confusion which might come if you're running hybrid. I'm not sure how many of you folks have thought this through, but just imagine if at all you're running hybrid with SharePoint 2019. You have deployed, your users have SharePoint communication sites from Office 365, and they have SharePoint communication sites from on-premises. Now that's going to bring in a lot of confusion, right? People will be wondering where this, I mean, of course, you as a SharePoint guy would know by seeing the URL, you can tell, but that's not the case with end users, right? For them, that is just a plain SharePoint. So please make sure that you think this through while you're, if at all, your company or your customer is looking forward for SharePoint on premises. And if at all you're running hybrid, please think all these facts. So modern list, yes, this is something which Jayanthi managed to show a demo. So whatever you get on your Office 365 modern list, you get the exact here. And modern library is something which we spoke about. And then mobile, yes, as I already spoke about, the mobile app is same for your SharePoint Online as well as for your SharePoint Server 2019. So please keep that in mind. There is no two different mobile apps. Team news, you have this news functionality in your Office 365. Since we have the communication sites and modern team sites here, you have the team news here as well. Okay. OneDrive, as we said, so we are going away from the groove.exe and we have the new OneDrive sync client. And I believe just few months before, Microsoft said that in Office 365, they announced this functionality saying that, you know, even your IRM protected documents can be synced, because for many years, I believe if any document is protected with IRM, you couldn't go ahead and sync it. That was the case even for Office 365. And just few months back, this update was pushed saying that yes, even your IRM documents can be synced. And now we have that even in on-premises, and this is the power of converged code base, right? You have something there and it just shows up within few months here. So hereafter, there is not going to be a scenario here wherein it's only the Office 365 customers who get to enjoy everything and the poor on-premises guys don't get to enjoy that functionality. That's not the case anymore. Maybe it's going to take some time, but eventually it will show up. SharePoint home, new SharePoint sites page. So this is also something which Jayanthi, so this is also something which we spoke about, because you have a SharePoint home in your Office 365 as well as in your 2019, and maybe when end user is seeing it, he'll be wondering, okay, which SharePoint home am I even seeing, right? But the best part with SharePoint home is you can follow us. It will show all the sites which you're following from your on-premises as well as from your online. Okay, maybe that requires a lot of training to the end users to help them understand, because in the beginning it is going to be confused, especially when you're running hybrid. But please have this thought through, because only then it will be a huge win-win for the business as well as for you as an IT. So Project Server 2019, we said that this product from 2016 onwards, you get Project Server along with the same SharePoint binaries, right? And we also spoke about that it's just a PowerShell. If you have purchased the license, when you're purchasing SharePoint Server 2019 license, right? You have as I said, it comes along with SharePoint, provided that you're taking that license. Once you have it, you just need to run a PowerShell, and now Project Server just comes as a service application itself. I don't think that was the case on SharePoint 2013, right? You have to go ahead and have a separate installation done altogether, and only then you'll have it up and running. But that's not the case anymore. So just a PowerShell, you have it running. Once you have it, once you have the enough licenses, yes, you can take advantage of Project Server also. So Power Apps and Flow integration, as we already spoke about. So yes, we do have Power Apps and Flow, provided that you are having the on-premises gateways configured, only then. And that's one reason why you're not seeing that in the modern libraries. You're not seeing those two buttons there, because we don't have that configured in the environment. And let me also tell you this, even you have that configured in the environment, I don't think those two buttons are going to show up there. Maybe I'm too early to comment on it, because we really don't know how it looks like. Only once the GA is available, we'll be really able to see how it is. Because the kind of confusion which me as a person I'm having is, if you think about Microsoft Flow as a product, or let's say Power Apps, right? It is just not meant to talk within Office 365. Your flow is meant to talk within different pieces within the complete Office 365 ecosystem, right? And let's say if you're having something similar to Flow here in your SharePoint on-premises, I'm not really sure how it is going to look like on the surface, and maybe once the GA is available, we'll have some good clarity on it. But yeah, let's wait for that. So this thing won't be showing up. So SMTP server authentication. So this is one. So earlier you won't be seeing this, but now authenticated, you can give all the details. This is the one which I was talking about. So new PowerShell commands, yes, we have a couple of commands which has been introduced in SharePoint Server 2019. We do have the get SP content database with a pipe for days sync, last profile sync. And what this does is to return content databases that haven't been synchronized with user profile for the past n days, which is basically, I believe it's referring to the syncDB, right? So it's just going to give that. And so clear SP content database sync data, and the explanation has been given for that, and update SP profile sync. So these are some new PowerShell commands which is introduced for the user profile synchronization. And then we have the get SP content database orphan data, and this is used to find orphan objects within a content database. Yes, right, of course there will be a lot of orphan objects in your SharePoint. And I believe you as a SharePoint administrator, you would be asked, right, to often go ahead and clear all the orphan data, because we have to keep that cleaning every now and then. I believe mostly we folks were using, back in my days as a SharePoint administrator, we had some crazy PowerShell script which I had to run to get all those information, and now we have this PowerShell. And then we have the set SP application credential key, and this is mainly used to set the application credential key on the local server for the SharePoint people picker and SMTP authentication, right? So this is a new PowerShell command for that. And then we also have remove SP application credential key to remove the application credential key from the local server. And you have to be very mindful while you're running the last command, because this could really break your environment. So please, so these are the new PowerShell commands, but please make sure that you're practicing this in a test environment before you're using this on your production post the GA. So developer value, yes, as we all know, so this is a rocking future which we all see. I think this is the new love for any SharePoint developer out there, right? So SharePoint framework, yes, we have that. I believe this was already introduced in SharePoint 2016 Future Pack 2, right? And now even this product has this. We have the client-side web parts and client-side extensions. I believe with the GA, we'll be having some new, which I think the new version of SharePoint framework was introduced, 1.6, I suppose, right? So maybe some new integration features might be announced when SharePoint Server 2019 GA is announced. So SharePoint 2019 moving forward, the TAP program, right? The was announced on November, and then we are on the public preview, which was on summer 2018. Now the demo which we are doing is on the public preview, and the release to web will be on fall 2018, right? And if at all you folks are interested, I mean, if anyone is out there in the US, you guys could go for Ignite. So in Ignite, I believe there is a couple of sessions which Bill Baird is doing on SharePoint Server 2019. So that's when the product will be completely demoed with all the new features, because of course Microsoft wants something to talk in Ignite, right? They have to show this is what we have done, right? So there is a lot of sessions on SharePoint, specifically on SharePoint Server 2019. If you're interested, just Google SharePoint Server 2019 sessions and you could see all those. And if at all you're planning for the event, please make sure that you stop by and go for those sessions. So yes, we are almost at the end of our session. So as a recap, we spoke about the architectural changes, we spoke about the software and hardware requirements, and we spoke about what's new and what's deprecated. So Jayanthi gave a complete demo on the new features. We spoke about the migration approach to SharePoint Server 2019, and I just shared you the roadmap. So conclusion, folks, yes, your SharePoint Server 2019 is truly phenomenal and is definitely the next go-to on-premises version of SharePoint. So all the on-premises customers, guys, folks who have joined my session, I believe you folks would now agree with me that yes, post the GA, I believe you guys are going to endorse this product to your customer because you get all those cool functionalities from the cloud here. And as Jayanthi was mentioning, HubSites is not available right now because this particular product called as HubSite was being developed parallelly when SharePoint Server 2019 was being developed. So it maybe they were not able to push it, but maybe in future pack 1 of SharePoint Server 2019, or maybe in the GA, you might see HubSites. I'm just giving a wild guess, but then it might come because HubSite has nothing to do with Office 365 dependency, right? It is just linking your modern team site and a communication site together. So I'm hoping that even a HubSite functionality might show up. Who knows? So it's indeed a multi-tentacle beast, right? For that matter, any version of SharePoint is indeed a multi-tentacle beast. It can just do a lot because it's this huge monolithic thing called as your enterprise content management platform. It is just not meant to dump your documents, and it could do a lot many things, right? So SharePoint 2019 was built for continuous innovation. Yes, it is. And this is something which I was already talking about in the beginning of the session. Your SharePoint 2016 uses the SharePoint online source code, which in turn is based on SharePoint 2013 source code, indicating that SharePoint 2016 is stable. The same is applicable for SharePoint 2019 also, and that is how Microsoft manages to push all these new features much quickly than how they were doing before. Okay. And so please endorse SharePoint 2019, post the GA to your customers for its beauty. Of course, I believe you folks are going to do that. And as I always say, happy SharePointing and thanks for joining my session. And SharePoint is, as I always keep telling to my customers, my peers, or to my colleagues, your SharePoint is just not meant to dump your files, right? It's meant to make wonders. If you really know the product well, you know what it can do for you. With that being said, so these are some useful resources if at all you're interested to get started with SharePoint Server 2019 and to learn further. When I'm sharing the slide with you, you folks can go ahead and look at it. And now it's the time for questions. If at all you have any questions, you can go ahead and put that on the chat. And I would also like to share this one link with you folks, which is the TechNet forum. Okay, so this is one TechNet thread which Microsoft has opened for to discuss all the bugs. Let's say you're installing SharePoint 2019 and there is something which is not working. Because this is public preview, you don't know either it's you who did a mistake or maybe the product itself has that limitation, right? So all those kind of bugs has been reported here. You're most welcome to go ahead and look into this. And if at all you have any question, you can go ahead and post it, because when myself and Jayanthi were building this environment, there are a couple of things which were not working, and we were thinking that maybe we are making a mistake. But then when we came here, we thought that okay, that's the nature of the product and it's a broken thing. So most of the things which are addressed here, please go ahead and take a look at it so that you'll understand whether it is really a bug or maybe it is something which I did a mistake as. Yeah, so I'm just going to, with that being said, so any questions, folks? If you have any questions, you can go ahead and shoot it now.